Can you answer the questions? If I ask you what is sound painting, can you start the answer with sound painting is?
Sound painting is, for me, a great form of freedom, of expression. And at its essence, it's asking an artist from any art form, really any art form, to take all the rules of that art form that they've internalized and then to abandon them. And in doing so, I think it establishes actually a new relationship between the artist and his or her medium. Sound painting for me started with an internship possibility with a lady named Lisa Walker, who's based in New York City, and she's part of this group called the Strike Anywhere Ensemble. They do a lot of activism through the arts. I'm pretty sure she asked me to do, for this internship, was to be a waiter at this function, this fundraising function for her Strike Anywhere Ensemble. And it was at the now closed Bertolt Brecht Center in New York City. There was various things going on during the evening, and one of those things was a sound painting performance. So I watched it, and I thought, I have no idea what's going on. I see somebody moving their hands, moving their body, and this and that, and people are reacting to it in a very funky ways. And there, I saw pure chaos move into pure harmony. There were singers, there were dancers, there were many different kinds of musicians, there were actors, there was somebody controlling the lights. And I thought, wow, this is something pretty wild. And then eventually I talked to Walter Thompson on Skype. I just started asking him a bunch of questions. What is this? Can you tell me more? And instead of just telling me, referring me to his website, he took the time to answer a lot of my questions. So that was the beginning of sound painting for me. Just seeing it and getting to talk to the source of it. Sound painting exists all over the world. 40 or 50 countries. There are many different practitioners who have their own ideas of what it is and what purposes sound painting can serve. This is the start of it in Armenia. What we have done with the students at UWC starting last year in Dilijan, and then what we did this year in October for the project week. I started it because we walked in, my wife and I, Svetlana, we walked into the building and we looked around and we said, the first thing that we said when we saw it was, this is a cool space for sound painting because it has all these different levels and different little areas where people can hide and you don't know where the sound is necessarily coming from. Also in China, it didn't exist before us, and we started the first Shanghai Sound Painting Ensemble in 2014 with a group of musicians and actors and dancers who had also no idea what this was. And I was learning it because I thought it was cool, and I talked to one person who led to another person who led to another person. And the full ensemble consisted of, I think, 10 people, most of them Chinese, but there was also a Frenchman and his wife and me, and so there was an international aspect about it, but here at the school there's a different quality, and I think that has to do also with the students' ages. So long story short, it didn't exist before. I, and very much with my wife's pushing, introduced it and kept it going. But it was the students who really carried it, because at the end of last year I was kind of finished with it. But then Mr. Kento Suzuki and Frederick, they approached me, and he just ran with it. So I give a lot of credit to Kento for going with it. The Sound Painting Project Week in Yerevan, on the whole, I think it went pretty smoothly, and every day we were doing something. We visited a theater school, we visited a theater, we visited that teaches acting and this and that. The theater school was a theater university. We visited a music school. and we visited a very special music school that features a lot of mostly young ladies, but also young men that tour around the world singing. So very, very high caliber and very, very highly talented groups. And so I think it went very, very well. It was rather chaotic and a little hard going because of the language barrier and the culture barrier. But for the most part, the gestures that they learned, it was something that brought all these different groups of people together. And that's the other thing about sound painting that I love. It's freedom of expression in a large community. And people are allowed to do and say and basically perform however they want. We broke up into two groups the Wednesday, I believe. One group went to the theater university, the other group went to the theater. And we started at different times. So, which meant that one group, the theater group, the university group that I was with, we finished a bit earlier than the other group. And so we went to get some food and we were sitting, and then somebody had the idea, it may have been me, maybe my wife or one of us, I don't remember. But we had the idea, let's go surprise them over at the theater school, wherever they are, whatever they're doing. And that was because somebody sent us a picture of Frederick teaching the students, the boys, girls, young adults who were there, the gestures, and we saw this space, and immediately, I think it was me, I think I looked at the picture and I said, ooh, let's go. And we have masks. Okay, we're going to put on masks and we're going to go and we're going to surprise them with a performance that's going to include them. We went in very silently, unannounced, and then we just kind of took over the thing. But everybody saw that we were all speaking the same language, and even though we were wearing masks and we kind of shocked them just coming in, it was a really, really satisfying moment. But the thing that got me, I think, was that Frederick was just teaching it. So I got this kid who I didn't know. I had no idea who Frederick was last year, because he wasn't part of the sound painting that we did at the school. But here's this kid who I hardly have any connection with, who's teaching the thing that I brought here and I thought was a good idea to spread. So I see that already it's carried over to somebody, and here he is teaching a bunch of people who also had no idea what it was 45 minutes ago before he started doing something and explaining the idea to them. And then the final performance, that was pretty awesome too. So a key moment that stood out for the big performance at the bottom of the cascade in Yerevan was when I got up there and I moved everybody to a restaurant that wasn't so far away from us, and there weren't so many people eating outside, but it got close, as close as we could get to the community, and playing, doing what we were doing things that were familiar to them and unfamiliar to them, but getting right up and close and personal with them. That was fun. I'm really happy. I'm really happy Svetlana Lasky pushed this thing to continue and kept it moving forward, because it's had a lot of positive results. And I'm now re-engaged with the thing too, and I think that's a good thing.